Yeah. Okay, so tonight the Olam should take out their beverage of choice because we will be making a siyum on the Perek Bez Hashem, and yeah, it's actually a long daf for Nazir and Nedarim. It's a long daf, just on a Perek, man.
You have to build up your stamina to have such a daf, you know.
It's true. It's true.
You have to what? What did you say?
Build up your stamina. We're used to 6-line dapim.
Yeah, and this one too, because I have no idea. These Nazir situations are crazier than the Nedarim situations, right? I mean, every page has got another like another way to dream up of saying how you're a Nazir. Between today's daf, tomorrow's daf, it's wild. Anyway, so Zok the Mishna, yeah, Ches Amud Aleph. Nazir is continuing the same mahalach as Nedarim, where the Gemara ends at the end of the daf, and the Mishna starts the next daf. Right? Yeah. Okay, so Zok the Mishna, yeah. Hareini Nazir. I'm a Nazir. This we had already. Hareini Nazir Kisar Roishi. I'm a Nazir for as much hair as I have on my head. Uka'afar Haaretz, or like the dirt that's in the ground. Uka'chol Hayam, and like the sand that's in the ocean. Hareza Nazir Oilam. If he does this, then he's a Nazir forever, right? But he could take a haircut, and he brings the karbonos every 30 days. So meaning he's a neder forever, according to the Tanakama. I'm sorry, he's a Nazir forever. But every 30 days he gets a reprieve, meaning he brings a carbon, and then he can take a haircut.
Can you drink wine?
I don't think so, because the next Nazir started already.
So how does he take a haircut?
So I think he has a special dispensation to take the haircut because of the previous nizirus. But I don't know. It could be he could drink wine. I thought not. Anybody come across this?
Yeah. The Rosh is mashma that you basically, it's not a real Nazir Olam like a classic Nazir Olam. It's a Nazir Olam in the sense that it's perpetual. You're basically going through. That's not a Nazir Olam. The Hanu it lasts. It does last forever, but it's 30-day intervals, which means that you have to go through the full nizirus. You're acting like a full Nazir during those 30 days, and then you cut your hair, and then you bring the karbanos. You're constantly a Nazir Olam, but Etzem could have his nizirus last forever, and you never bring your karbanos.
Correct. We're going to see in the Rebbi. Rebbi disagrees with this.
I'm saying, but the sheet of the Tanakama, he holds a Nazir Olam, but this is not your classic Nazir Olam.
Well, it's not. There's different definitions of Nazir Olam.
That's what I'm saying. Like this
types.
Definition, what we're saying now is that it ends every 30 days. It ends.
Correct, but it starts again the next.
Right.
Days.
But my point is that you're cutting your hair. It's not a special dispensation. You're cutting your hair because you have to do a.
So then Rabban's asking. So then can you have wine too?
The other one, let me ask you a question. Let's say you have two niziruses of 30 days each, right?
Right.
One after another, right? Forget about Nazir Olam. In such a scenario, how can you cut your hair? You're not. Your next one starts right afterwards. Correct. You're allowed to cut your hair to lead to the next one. That's not
exactly right.
Are you allowed in a two nizirus? Are you allowed to drink wine in between? Would that be the same kasha?
I don't think so.
This is no different than that.
And but you have to say that it's a special dispensation to cut the hair. That's what you have to say.
I don't think it's special dispensation. That's how you end your nizirus. That's part of the process.
Correct, but you already started your next nizirus, or you want to say double to say Yom Kippur.
I don't think you're starting. I think it only starts when the first one finishes.
I don't know. So then you could have wine for the in between, maybe.
There's no in between though. Once you finish, the next one starts right away.
Correct, but at what? Maybe can he drink wine while he's taking a haircut?
You're not done though. Even when you take a haircut, you're not done.
Because you got to go put the karbanos.
You got to bring your karbanos. You're not done.
So can he drink wine while he's bringing the karbanos?
You're not done. And once you finish, you go right to the next one.
Correct. But then how are you cutting your hair?
That's part of the process.
Right. So that's right. So that's what we're saying. It's
why can't drinking a glass of wine be part of the process too?
No, because it's not part of the tahara process. That's what people saying.
Why can't chewing gum be part of the process? Well, I don't know, because it's not. I don't know.
Because Gerald Ford never became a Nazir.
I'm just saying, that's not a question on this.
No, that's true.
They're one after another. I'm not hopping.
You're supposed
Correct,
to cut your
that's-
hair as part of the process of
That's
finishing your
Akiva.
nizirus.
That's what I said. That it's okay. You know, you want to say it's not called
It's not special dispensation. It's part of the union of nizirus. You cut your hair. when you're
Correct.
finishing the process.
Correct. So that's meaning that's you have to cut your hair because that's the way you get rid of nazir, right?
You got a haircut.
What?
You got a haircut.
A week ago. No. But
I
anyways,
didn't see you.
fine. So anyway, according to the Tanakama, he's a nazir forever, but it's a recurring one, a nizirus every 30 days, which gets quite expensive, right? 3 korbanos every 30 days, right? Is he mechuyev to do this every 30 days?
He's not buying these $100 bottles of wine, you see.
I guess so. He's saving. He's saving on the wine. But is he mechuyev to do this every 30 days? Like what would be the point? I mean, I understand if he wants to take a haircut. So you say, okay, listen, take a haircut, then you got to bring the korbanos. But if he doesn't want to take a haircut, he has to bring the korbanos.
The Rush is
know.
mashma that way.
What?
The Rush is mashma that way.
What? That he does have to.
You're has to be mechayiv yourself 30-day interval nizirus. It's not
nizirus.
like you want to cut your hair. That is the nizirus. It's
Yes, that's what I
perpetual
thought.
nizirus.
I thought that's the way it would be, but I'm just wondering if it gets expensive. So what do you do? But anyway, we'll see a little bit about that more later in the daf. Fine.
Well,
So
if he stops,
what?
if you say mixes a yom and it starts at a certain time, so you can go to Pesach Chaim and make some kale moles and pick up some money, and then
I guess to pay for the korbanos. You're saying,
yeah.
Yeah.
So it gets expensive, So it gets expensive, The Kahanim got to eat too,
That's true, but you don't do it every month. But either way, okay. So that's what he's saying. So if he makes it, so basically what we're saying that when he said the same way that each blade of each hair follicle and each piece of dirt is a separate thing. So each one is separate from each other, like we said yesterday's daf. So Mamela, he meant that for every one of hair, he's going to be a nazir for 30 days. Fine. That's the Tanakh. Rebbi Omer ein ze megaleach achas l'shoshim yom. This is not the case where you have to take a haircut every 30 days. Right? This one would be a one-time use nizirus lasting you the rest of your life. Meaning because as many days as there are hair, which the assumption is tens of thousands, right? So or sand or whatever it is. So that's one long nizirus. So okay, so which case is once every 30 days? So I'm a real line nizirus kesar roishi. If he says that I'm having a nizirus, right, of the hair on my head, and like the dirt in the ground, or like the sand of the sea. So here he's saying, he said nizirus plural. See, in the first case, according to Rebbi, he said hareini nazir. So since he said nazir once, he's being makabel. According to Rebbi, it's one nizirus that's going to last him his whole life, right? But in the second, but Rebbi says, but if he said harei alai nizirus, that means he plans on having plural naziruses, and therefore that would be the scenario of every 30 days. Okay, so that's one in the Mishnah. Two, second case, hareini nazir malei abayis ay malei akupa. A guy says that he's a nazir by a full house or a full box. So bait genaisai. So how we know what he meant? So bait genaisai, we ask him, which is fascinating. As far as I know, is this the first time we have bait genaisai between Nadarim and Nazir? We had this before. As far as I remember, we never had this before. I don't know. Or yeah, it took us 100 blot to figure out to ask the guy what he meant, right? When I look, it was like Baitkin. I say, "She." Now that's a novel idea, right? I don't know why here we're asking it. I don't know. Yeah. So Baitkin, I say we check into him. Im Amar, if he said Achas Gedoyler Nazarti, I made one big Nazirus, so Nazir Lamed Yom. He's a Nazir for 30 days. right? Meaning, like, and the Rush says that, like we said yesterday, what he meant was, I'm making a large nizirus, meaning the nizirus, I love wine. The nizirus is going to be so large to me because it's going to be very difficult for me to go a month without wine. Fine. But stam nazarti. But if he says, nah, I just said I'm stam and nazir, then we look at the box as if it was full of mustard seeds, which are tiny. The nazir kol yamav, and then Mamela, he's a nazir for the rest of his life, right? Which is the same way as the ratio, which would be every 30 days. He's going to have to bring animals and take a haircut, right? So that's the second case. Third case, already nazir mikan ad makom ploni. This we had yesterday. If a guy says he's a nazir to go from here until this place, meaning whatever amount of time it takes to go from point A to point B, he's a nazir. So we evaluate how many days would it take to travel? So let's say it would take 40 days to travel. So so it depends. If it would take less than 30 days to travel, then nazir lamid yom, he's a nazir for 30 days. Why? Because we know that the minimum nazirus time is 30 days. So anything less than 30 days, he would be a nazir for 30 days. But if not, nazir kiminyan yom, he's a nazir for the amount of days that it would take for him to travel. So let's say it was 40 days. So he would be a nazir for 40 days, which we said in yesterday's daf, that's talking about where he was already on the way and he's already traveling when he made the nizirus, because he wanted to have like a skula that he should be safe. Right? So that's why we're saying that. But if he would still be at home, then we're going to change the psak, and we're going to say that he's going to be a nazir for every. That was depending on what the minig is of that particular place. However, they break down the travel. That's what it would be, right? Fine. Hareini nazir kiminyan yemaisachama. This is the fourth case in the Mishnah. If he says he's a nazir, like the amount of days that is in the solar calendar, minor nizirus kiminyan yemaisachama counts his nizirus for the days of the however many days there are in the calendar. Amar Rebbi Yehuda, Maisahaya Kiban Shehishlim Meis. So Rebbi Yehuda said, as a proof to this, that there was a story where somebody finished his nizirus and then he died. Right? So what exactly is this proof? So basically, at least what the Gemara is saying, what the Mishna is saying now, and it will change onto Amud Beis, what the Gemara is thinking is that when it says that he's a nazir kiminyan Maisachama, it's not that he's a nazir for 365 days. It means that he's a nazir for 365 times 30, right? Because each day of the solar calendar is considered its own day, right? So therefore, what he meant is 365 times 30, which would be 30 something years of nazirus every 30 days. Right? So what's Rebbi Yehuda proving? So he's saying that there was a Maisa that once the guy finished, then he died. Right? So you see that there'll be no chiddush if it be only 365 days. But if it's 30 something years and then he died, so then that's a chiddush. Right? So that's a proof that the nizirus is 365 times 30. Okay, so those are basically the four cases in the Mishnah. The first case is if he says he's a nazir like the hair on his head or like the dirt. So that we had a Machlokes, whether he is a nazir. He's definitely a nazir forever. The question is he a nazir in 30-day segments? So Tanakama holds yes. Rebbi says no. Second case is that he says of a house full of he makes the equivalent of a house as a neder, as a nazir, or a box. So then we check him out. We ask him, what did he mean? If he says 30 days, so if he says he was a nazir gedaylo, so then it's 30 days. If he said stam nazir, then it's going to be, we look at the box like it's full of mustard seeds, which again essentially means that he's a nazir in 30-day segments for the rest of his life. Third case was he's a nazir based on location, from how long it will take for him to travel from point A to point B. So he said if it's less than 30 days, then he's a nazir for 30 days. If it takes longer, then he's a nazir for whatever amount of time it would take to travel. And the fourth case is he says that he's going to be a nazir for the amount of days of the sun. So we say it's 365 times 30, and Yehuda proves that with a Maisa that a guy died after keeping all these days. Right, so those are the 4 cases. So Gemara is going to go through some of them. So Zakti Gemara, right, so we said in case number 3 that we look at the box, right? When he said he's a nazir like a box, so we look at the box like it's full of mustard seeds, right? And therefore, a box could hold, imagine, tens of thousands of mustard seeds. It doesn't even have to be that many. You multiply it times 30, so therefore he's a nazir for the rest of his life. So the Gemara asks, who says you should look at the box as if it has mustard seeds in it? Maybe it has cucumbers in it, right? And cucumbers, you're not going to have nearly as many. Let's say you have, 30 cucumbers in there, right? So I'm touching it as cucumbers, but whatever, it's gourds, bigger vegetables, right? And then he'll have a takanta. So he'll be 30 times 2, so he'll be 30 times 20, let's say. So he'll be a nazir for 2 years, and then he'll be off. Who says you look at the box as if it has mustard seeds, right? So the Gemara answers, Amar Chizkiya b'Machlokes shnuya. You're right, but this is that our Mishna that is teaching the din in the Mishna that we look at it as mustard seeds is actually a Machlokes. What's the Machlokes? Reb Shimon and our Mishna is going like Reb Shimon. Damar adam machnes etz asmu ledavar shesveike chomer mivade. A person will make himself aser with a suffix even more than a vade. Well, let's see what this means. The Tanya. Hareni nazir amanashiyeh by bekriza meyakur. Right? You got 2 guys sitting in front of this pile of grain, and they say to each other, "How many kur you think in there?" So one guy says, "There's 100 kur." So his friend turns to him and says, "If there's 100 kur in that thing, then I'm going to be a nazir." So then, so now they said, "Okay, shake on it." So they shook on it. So now they got to count this whole pile and see if there's 100 kur, then this guy's a nazir. So then when they go to count it, umatzu shenigna v'sha'avad, that somebody ripped off the entire pile or it got lost. So now they have no idea if this guy's a nazir or not. Right? Again, the guy says, "I'm going to be a nazir if there's 100 kur in there." Right? And then, so we're going to go count it. And then it got lost. So there's no way to prove it. So now what? Is he a nazir? Is he not a nazir? So the problem is, if you say he's not a nazir, it could be over on mamash yisur deraisa. If you say that he is a nazir and he really is not a nazir, how can he bring the karbanos to the Beis Hamikdash? Right? If he was not a nazir, he's bringing chulin into the Beis Hamikdash, so it's not allowed. So this is your classic suffix of nizirus.
Doesn't it become nazir when they find out that it's 100 core and they never found out?
No. Why? He said if there's 100 core there, he said I'm becoming a nazir. If you can't find out, so you can't find out. So
got to be another case.
So Reb Shimon says, right? Listen to this psak from Reb Shimon. It's wild. He says he's aser, meaning he's a nazir for the rest of his life. Shesafik nizirus lahachmir. A safik nizirus, we're going to go l'chumra, meaning the person who made the bet is going to be considered a nazir forever because he can't even take a haircut. Because part of the haircut is to bring the karbanos. He can't bring the karbanos, so he can't take a haircut. So Mamela, his nizirus stays forever. Right? Oh, but it's a suffix. Maybe the guy didn't mean to do that. So that's the chiddush of Reb Shimon, and that's what the Gemara meant 2 lines before. It says, "Adam machnes etz asmai the davar shesveike chomer mivada." A person will put himself into a situation where the suffix is actually going to have to make him be stricter than a vada. Let's say he was a vada, meaning normally, and when you have a suffix, at least a suffix derabana, you go lekula, right? When you say a suffix deraisa, you go lechumra, right? But here, if we would paskin lechumra and say he's a suffix, so therefore he's a nazir, great. So he's a nazir for 30 days, bring the karbanos, and zayagazun, right? But he can't do that here. So here, remaining in the suffix zone actually makes it more chomer than if we'd say that he's a vaday nazir. So Reb Shimon says, yeah, that's the way you got to paskin it, because that's what a person would want to do. That would have been his intention when he made this bet that there's 100 core in this pile. That was what his intention was. Rabbi Yehuda mater shesafik nizirus lahakol. Rabbi Yehuda says no, it's safik nizirus is lahakol, meaning we always say by nizirus we go lakula because you can't bring the animals in case if he makes himself into a nazir, he's going to bring the animals as chulin into the Beis Hamikdash, which is not allowed, right? So therefore, how does that fit in?
He created the chumrah. It's not that we paskin he had to go the chumrah. He made the chumrah himself.
What are you talking about? According to Reb Shimon?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what it says. So that's what Reb Shimon says. He made the chumrah, and since he made the chumrah, the consequences are that he's a nazir for the rest of his life because he can't do it. Rabbi Yehuda says no.
What?
We're gonna say something nizirus is lakula. What are you saying?
Why is he called? I mean, that's what he said. He wanted to be nazir called Yomov. That's his.
No,
list.
he didn't say that, but he knows the ramifications.
Why?
He makes the bet, and he knows that for whatever reason, they're not going to be able to count the whole pile, or the whole tree. So he knows the ramifications of that are okay. Then you're going to be out because you're going to be a suffix nazir, and you're going to be out from everything.
I don't understand.
Well, meaning he knows his ramifications when he makes this.
Then what are the ramifications? You keep on saying that. What is it?
That
why is it forever?
Because if it gets lost, then they can't prove whether there was 100 kur in there.
So he's a nazir, no? So.
But he's a nazir forever because he can't get out of it. Because how can he get out? Because he's a suffix. We can't have him bring karbanas. He can't bring karbanas because what happens if there wasn't 100 kur? He's not a nazir, so now he's bringing in these animals into the Beis Hamikdash, and he can't do it. Now the truth is, he can bring two of the animals.
Can he make himself a nazir again?
Oh, very good, Peretz. Very good. Why not make himself a nazir again? Right?
Well, be a nazir for 30 days. How would you be made for another isser on top of the first isser?
No, meaning he made himself a new nazir. His nizirus only lasts 30 days, right?
That's a suffix. It might last forever.
No, it's only lasting forever because of the suffix.
What can I do? Like
it's only lasting forever because he can't bring the animals.
What can I do?
There's no shy here that he's not.
But on the side is already usher, you're usher forever.
No, the nizirus is 30 days. That's for sure. There's not a shy. He said, I'm going to be a nazir if there's not 100 kur in this pile. Okay, so then that nizirus is lasting 30 days. Right? The only problem is he can't bring the karbanas. So therefore, he can't cut his hair. And therefore, he can't eat wine. He can't drink wine because he never finished the process. So he's stuck with that. Right? So Peretz is saying, okay, so let him make himself a new nazir. 31 days later, let him be a new nazir, a vaday nazir. Then he goes and brings the karbanas, and then he could take the haircut.
Well, but we do it
work for both periods of nizirus?
So l'chayra, why shouldn't it? Because
it
the only problem. No, but doctor, the only problem is kachim. He's bringing kachim l'chutz.
I understand, but each period of nizirus needs its own karbanos.
No? So that's the thing. Does each period of nizirus?
But why does he have to wait 31 days?
What do you mean? He has to finish. He's supposed to finish that first nizirus cycle.
I'm saying, why can't he double up on his nizirus?
I mean, just that day become another. I don't know. Can you do nizirus? I don't know. Maybe that's what Akiva was saying. Nazir.
What we do
Nazir. What?
What we do by Vekaiman? If it's this way, then it's this. If it's not,
you can't be bringing korbanos into the Beis Hamikdash.
No, we can make another nazir.
You want to make
that's why we eat. That's why we eat double this year.
Well, I don't know if it's a tanai.
No, you know what I'm saying with chatzos and not chatzos.
So okay, the truth is the Rush does say it as a tanai. If you look at the Rush in the wide lines, I wasn't sure what the Rush was saying today, but the Rush basically says you sort of like what Naftali is saying that that maybe he can make a tanai.
So what happened?
Right?
What?
So Right. He says it as a Tanai. I thought, look, the first Y line in the Rush says, why not? Let him say it tonight. So the Rush's answer is a little bit of technical. He says that what happens if it became Tomei before he makes the Tanai? So then he can't bring a carbon Tumah, right? Yeah, so then, meaning it sounds like according to the Rush, there would be a scenario if he does it right that he could do this. What Peretz and Naphtali are saying is do it with a Tanai and then bring the Karbanas, right? It sounds like there is a way out, but because he may become Tamei, maybe it doesn't work. Okay, whatever it is, but that's the Machlokes of Shimon and Rebbi. Okay, so what does that have to do with our Mishnah?
Taisus brings it down. He says the Gemara later on.
The what?
The Takana for Shimon. He says the Gemara in Yigimel, according to the Merav Ranchberg.
The Taisus.
Taisus says the Kanteler of Shimon.
Which Taisus again?
Shehei Bekriza Meir Kor Matzei Shenignav.
I mamish don't remember.
He says you make it tonight. Says the exact same case. I'm saying he says Gemara. The Rav Ranchberg on the side says it's the Gemara later on. You give him down.
No, but the Gemara doesn't say that takana. They're saying that should be the takana with the Tanai, right? But the Rush has an issue with part of that takana, right? Yeah. Because the Gemara later on Yud Gimel talks about if a woman has a miscarriage, so then he says a Tanai. Okay, whatever the case is over there. So we're saying he's asking you can make a Tanai. So the Rush says here that the Tanai is not always going to work because he may become Tummy first, which I'm not sure what the Rush means by that, because if he doesn't become Tummy, then it should work, the Tanai, right? The Tanai should work. Okay, whatever it is. What does it have to do with us? How does this answer the Gemara's question? Again, the Gemara's question was, who says you should look at the box? That if it has mustard seed in it and it's thousands and thousands of mustard seeds, maybe it's kishun with the luan. So basically what we're saying is that, we're going according to Reb Shimon, that when there's a sava, we don't know what this guy meant with the box. We don't know if he meant mustard seeds. We don't know if he meant cucumbers. So Mamela, we have to go with the strict interpretation, like Reb Shimon says, with this guy betting that it's in the court. So then we have to go with the strict. Now, how come we don't ask this guy? I don't know. I keep harping on it because I just can't. I don't understand it. How come the third
said you ask him, but this isn't a case where he said it's stam. The Mishnah said you ask him. This has to be a case where he said it's stam without meaning anything.
I'm saying, and you can't ask him. You can't ask him what was in his imagination, or it doesn't make a difference.
No, he didn't have it in his imagination.
Right, and it could be didn't.
You mean this is a proof that when the women ask the husband, "What do you think?" and they say nothing, right? There's a proof to that. This is Mama's Shai. Right? When men think about nothing, this is a proof. I was thinking nothing.
And why is Chardel Chomer?
Because it's tiny.
So why is that considered Chomer?
What do you mean? Because he was saying that for each grain of, I don't know if it's called a grain, each whatever seed, each mustard seed is a 30-day nizirus.
Yeah, but how does he know that he was even, why stam?
Because we're saying he's referring to whatever was in the box. Because like Dr. Corman said, it's he just said a box. So the box is obviously full of something. So what is it? We're going to go with the strictest interpretation, which is mustard seeds.
That's the strictest interpretation.
What else? You're getting small. I mean, what's the difference? It's going to be tens of thousands in there. So you multiply that times 30, he's done for the rest of his life. Right? And we're going like Reb Shimon, who holds we go with the strict interpretation, and a suffix, a person is going to be makabel on himself nizirus, even if he's a suffix. I don't know. Whatever. That's a machlokes. So, anyways, again, the Gemara's teretz is that our Mishnah is really a machlokes. Right? Sounds like according to Rebbi Yehuda, we would take a look at it as if there's gourds in the box, and we'd say, let's say you could fit 20 cucumbers in there. Okay, 20 times 30, Givaldic, and then he does 2 years, almost 2 years, and then he's off the hook. Fine, that's one way. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, we're 6 lines up from the bottom. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, afilu tema Rabbi Yehuda. We could even say it's going according to Rebbi Yehuda. Our Mishnah could be even going to Rebbi Yehuda, who says that we're lenient by a suffix, and we go lakula, hasam loy nachas loy nizirus. Right there by the 100 kur. Right, Rabbi Yochanan seems to be saying something pretty obvious. I mean, I didn't think of it, but it seems to be pretty obvious. By the kur, when he said, if there's 100 kur, I'm becoming a nazir, he didn't have in mind that he's becoming a nazir. It was a big fat suffix, whether he even meant to be a nazir or not. So Yehuda says we're going to be meko. But hacha, in our Mishnah, nachas leila nizirus, the guy said he's becoming a nazir. That's for sure. We know he had intention to become a nazir. We just don't know for how long. So, right? How can you take it away from him? We have no idea. Meaning, in the case by the Kur, we don't even know whether he wanted to be a Nazir. In the case of the box, he said, I'm going to be a Nazir. We just don't know how much. Okay, in that case, Rabbi Yehuda would agree that we have to go with the strictest interpretation. Right? So therefore, our Mishnah could even be going to Rabbi Yehuda. So I'm going to ask on that, Amai loy. Maybe we could get him out of it. Let's say lakupa kilu malay kashuma delun. Why don't we look at the box as if it's full of gourds? That the heavy lay takanta, right? Then we'll have a takan of him that after whatever amount of gourds you fit in there, his nizirus will be over, right? Hosaka daitan nizirus the kabali lave, right? Because what were we thinking is that he was makabel on himself nizirus, right? So he was makabel, right? He was makabel on himself multiple nizirus plural, right? So he did it. He did it with gourds. Right? It doesn't have to be mustard seeds, right? So who says, meaning you could be Makayim both? Yes, he meant to be a Nazir, and he meant to be a multiple Nazir, but multiple segments of Nazir. But who says you have to take it all the way to mustard seeds? Maybe just take it to gourds, right? So on Talmud Beis now. So when it says no, the Rabbi Yehuda savala ka Rebbi, because Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rebbi, which is Rebbi in the first case of the Mishna, the Tan Rebbi Yomer. This guy, again, the guy that made a neder, that the amount of hair that he has, or the dirt, or the dust, right? So this is shloishim. That's not a neder. The Tanakhama said that that's a neder every 30 days for the rest of the guy's life. And Rebbi said, no, that's not the case. That's one long nizirus. When do you have it, the repetitive 30 days, every 30 days? That's if he said the plural, terminology using a plural word, which is nizirus, right? So basically we're saying Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rebbi, that when a person makes this type of neder, he means that he's being a neder forever, meaning one long neder. So therefore, what we're saying according to Rabbi Yehuda now is that when this guy says that the box, I'm going to be a neder the size, a nazir the size of a box, even whatever, doesn't matter what's in there. That nizirus is going to last him for the rest of his life because it's one long nizirus, since he didn't define it as anything, since he didn't define it in an amount. So therefore, it's considered a full nizirus. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rebbi, and therefore he cannot say that he's just going to have one term. He's saying he could have one term of nizirus, and it lasts the rest of his life. Fine. So that's how we're saying it now. Rabbi Yehuda is saying like Rebbi. So Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda, misavala ka Rebbi. Does Rabbi Yehuda really hold like Rebbi? Again, Rebbi is holding that it's one long nizirus for the whole life. Fatanan, hareini nazir kimini masachama. Right? We said in the last case in the Mishnah, if a guy says he's a nazir for the amount of days in the solar calendar, and over Rabbi Yehuda, and we said that means he's a nazir for 365 times 30. Right? And then Rabbi Yehuda proved it, because how? Since he was finished, meaning the Gemara is assuming now finished means he finished all his 365 segments of Nazirus. Therefore, and then he died. So you see that he was a Nazir for 30 years, 30 some odd years, and then he died. So if you say that he was makabel multiple nazirus, that's what Rabbi Yehuda meant. That once he completed his 365 30-day segments, so he's out. Ella, but if you say that it's one long nizirus, which we're saying Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rebbi, and it's really one long nizirus that lasts the rest of his life, Mia havi hashlama klal. There's no hashlama, right? How can that be? How can Rabbi Yehuda be proving that there was a completion? The nizirus lasts the rest of the guy's life, right? Meaning normally when the Gemara says a shita, it says an opinion, and then it says a maisa about it. Usually, that maisa proves what was said in the Mishnah. Sometimes the maisa sounds different than the Gemara asks. Maisa listor. You just brought a story that's the opposite. The Gemara doesn't do that here. The Gemara is saying a maisa, and Rabbi Yehuda is the one saying over the maisa. What's the maisa? That there was a story of a guy who said this about the solar calendar, and he was a nazir for 365 30-day segments, and then he died. Right, but if you say that Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rebbi, that a guy that said solar calendar and said a lashon yachid of nazir, right, then he's going to only last for nizirus lasts the rest of his life. So what kind of proof is that? There's no hashlama there. There was no hashlama. His nizirus lasts till he died. Meaning Rabbi Yehuda, the way we're understanding, he's proving. He's saying he had 365 30-day segments, and then when that was over, he died. Right? According to Rebbi, there was no end to the nizirus. His nizirus was forever. So Elamai must be that Rabbi Yehuda holds that there are 365 segments of 30 days, and then he would say the same thing by the cucumbers, right? And therefore, why are we saying that it's mustard seed? Maybe Rabbi Yehuda would say it's cucumbers, and the guy's a nazir for 20, 30-day segments. That's kasha number one. But me savar like Rebbi. And does Rabbi Yehuda really hold like Rebbi? We have a beferish brisa now like that. Vatani Rabbi Yehuda, Hareini Nazir, Minyan Hilkati Kayetz. If a guy says he's a Nazir for the amount of piles of figs there are, because they used to, the way Tyson says it, when they dried the figs, they would make these little piles of figs and leave them out to dry. And there would be like unlimited amounts of these piles of figs. They were drying out the whole harvest. So if he says that he's a Nazir like that amount, minyan shvile shmita, or a minyan like the paths that go through the fields during Shemitah, because Shemitah, everything's hefker, so people would walk through the field, and there would be tons of little paths that were going through all the fields. So they were not, basically, he said the word minyan, the number of, and things that are not countable, that there's so many. So what's his din? Minyan nizirus, minyan hilkati kayetz, or minyan shvile shmita. We count his nizirus 30 days each per pile of figs and per paths, right? So therefore, since it can't be counted, the guy's going to be a nazir for the rest of his life every 30 days. So you see, and this is Rebbi Yehuda talking. So clearly Rebbi Yehuda holds that when a guy says he's a nazir for something that can't be counted, he's a nazir every 30 days. So you see, we have two kashas that Rebbi Yehuda can't possibly hold like Rebbi. So when it answers minyan shani, no, when he says the word minyan, that's a different case. He says by the number of piles of figs, or by the number of paths that are going through the field, right? So therefore, since he said minyan, therefore it's part of it's there. He would say that it's every 30 days. So the thing is now the Gemara is thinking that would be Rebbi's opinion too. So the Gemara asks, "So mishani le Rebbi minyan? Does Rebbi really differentiate when they use the word minyan?" Again, we're saying that Rebbi holds that normally when a guy gives a non-countable number for his nizirus, so Rebbi holds it's one long nizirus for the rest of his life. And now we just got finished saying that Yehuda says like Rebbi, but when they use the word minyan, when the nazir puts in the word minyan, so then he means that it should be counted. So therefore, it's not one big nizirus for the rest of his life, but it's segments of 30. So the Gemara is going to prove now that Rebbi does not agree with that. Even Rebbi will say his din even when he says the word minyan, even when the nazir says the word minyan. Mishani le Rebbi minyan? Does Rebbi change his din for when the nazir uses the word minyan? Vatanya, harini nazir community masachama. If a guy says that he is a nazir for the amount of days in the sun, and then he says minyan, from the counting of the days of the sun. Minor nizirus communion in Maisachama, he counts the nizirus for the 365 times 30. Kimei alavana, like the days of the moon, minor kimei alavana. So it would be 30 times 354. Rebbi Yomer, that's the Tanakama. Rebbi Yomer, Achi Yomer Nizirus alai communion in Maisachama or communion in Maisalavana. He has to say nizirus plural, and then it will be 30-day segments. But if not, then it's one long thing. So you see that according to Rebbi, he doesn't care about the word minyan. Minyan doesn't change anything for him, right? The word nizirus plural, that changes everything for Rebbi, right? So therefore, it can't be that Rebbi differentiates between minyan or not. Fine. So now Rebbi Yehuda cannot hold of Rebbi. So the Gemara answers Rebbi Yehuda Savar Lakava say Bechada or Palakale Bechada. Rebbi Yehuda holds like Rebbi in one case and disagrees with him in another case. Savar Lakava say Bechada, he holds like Rebbi in one case, which is now the Bach changes a little bit here. He says Chada nizirus Kibbal Alave. When Rebbi normally when a guy says a non-countable number, or uncountable number. So Rebbi holds it's one long nizirus and that's it. And Rebbi Yehuda agrees with that. But Rebbi Yehuda disagrees with Rebbi. Rebbi Yehuda shani le'mayna. Rebbi Yehuda says, well, it's going to depend whether he uses the word minyan. If the guy uses the word minyan, then Rebbi Yehuda says, I don't go with Rebbi, and I hold that the word minyan tells us that he meant to have separate segments. Rebbi, I've never said anything. There's a difference about minyan. Rebbi only said there's a difference between whether he said nazir in a singular terminology and nizirus in a plural terminology. But he does not differentiate between minyan or not. Okay, not the easiest Gemara in the world. In case I'm not doing a good job explaining it, but yeah, fine. Then we say that the rest of the daf is easy. It's not that much, not that long. Well, okay, so Ton Rabbanan. Hareini nazir kol yemei chayai. If a guy says I'm a nazir all the days of my life, Hareini nazir olam, or he says I'm a nazir forever. Harei is a nazir olam. He's a nazir forever, right? Yeah, meaning afilo. I'm sorry. So that he's a nazir olam, and therefore he's going to be a nazir, and then every 30 days his nizirus is over. Right? But if he says afilum, but if he adds to that afilu meya shana, afilu elef shana, if he adds even 100 years or even 1,000 years, now he put a limit on it, even though he can't live that long. Right? Even though he can't live that long, ein zen nazir olam. He's not a nazir olam, ela nazir li olam. He's a nazir forever, and he could never be. He can never take a haircut. And he can never be makel until he dies. Meaning it's one long nizirus. So the first case when he just says he's a nazir all the days of his life, or nazir olam, say he's a nazir. He is a nazir forever. But like we said by Avshalom, he could take a haircut once a year. When it gets very heavy, his hair, he could take a haircut, right? But when he adds an amount to it, even though it's a non-realistic amount, he says he knows it forever. He never has any leniencies.
I'm sorry, I don't remember. What did we say he does for Shabbos and Yom Tov with the wine?
Shabbos and Yom Tov, he cannot have the wine.
Wine. So this guy, but Avshalom can, because he's gets too tired, he can cut his hair.
Well, it's not tired. It's the hair gets too heavy. Yeah, this guy could also do that.
I don't understand.
I don't understand it either. Like, what's the longest?
Good.
That's not a raya because I don't. You're not in good company. You know what I'm saying?
I'll take my chances.
All right, there you go. Just don't make a nazir bet on it. Yeah. So.
But he could go. But he could go to Bezdin and be made to Chacham and be made for it. Correct?
Yeah. He could be matir the nether. Yeah, that's true. No, he could be matir it. I think. No, if he has a good reason.
So why could the guy that lost to be matter?
What?
That lost the kick. They couldn't measure out if there was a kicker and a kicker, a core. Why couldn't he be matir nether?
Can he be matir nether there?
We didn't say that.
There's a good reason you can't do it on the suffix, Naftali, because you're not sure if he made the neder or not. So
why can't he be matter it?
Of course, it's a suffix.
So be matter if it's a suffix.
Yeah, how could you be matter? It's not. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not a neder.
But then he for sure has nothing to worry about. If it's on that side, he has nothing to worry about.
He has more
He
to
only has
worry
a
about
if
on the
it's a neder. It's
suffix.
a good reason to be matter.
Okay, I don't know.
I would have known it would go fall into suffix. I would never have done it.
I don't know if that's enough of a Pesach after learning the whole Nedarim. I have no idea if that's enough of a Pesach, right?
Quick question: If he is mater neder and is allowed to do so, does he have to bring the karbanos after this being mater neder?
No, it wasn't an neder.
Well, wait, isn't it going to?
Let's say he held the chves 2 weeks out of
But
Nazir.
so it's not a nizirus.
He's like, listen, I had enough. I'm out.
If lemafreya, no. Wouldn't that lemafreya?
He's shol and whatever, and then does he have to, bring karbanos as he ends it, or he just walks out?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure how they will. I don't know. I don't know yet. We'll have to see weiter in the sugyas how it works with him being mat. But I think if he does it, he would be matir lemafreya. I think, no. And then he wouldn't even have to bring anything. That's what we saw in the Dharam. But anyways, so that's the difference between these two. Yeah, fine. Tanur Rabbanan, Hareni Nazir. He says Hareni Nazir, and we're back to all these brilliant things. Hareni Nazir v'achas. He says I'm a Nazir and one. Right, like a basketball player, I guess. Like and one, right? Kippur. What?
Like you and Yom Kippur.
What achas? Here you go. Okay, well, he says I'm a Nazir and one. So then my nishtayim, he gets 2 nizirus. Ve'oid. Then he says I'm and one ve'oid. Right? Then minus shalosh. Then he gets 3 nizirus. V'shuv. And if he says and then again minus arba, then he has to be a Nazir for 4. So when it says pshita, well, why would you think he's not a nazir for 4? And when it answers ma'al the same b'shuv kikulu v'avilei shis. Maybe b'shuv means let's do it again. Play it again. Say how to go play it again. Play it again. Play it again. Or whatever. Whatever they say. Yeah. Pop culture. We have to have at least one reference per daf, right? So play it again. So meaning instead of it being a 4th nazirus, maybe it's an additional 3, right?
But he never actually said it in the movie. It's favorite famous, but he didn't actually say it.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't even know what movie it's from. I just know that it's a phrase. But anyways, so we think that maybe when he says Vishuv, he's got to do another 3. Come on, no, it's not another 3, it's just an additional 1. Fine. Tanur Rabbanan, this next Gemara also very interesting with the terminology. Hareni Nazir. The guy says I'm a Nazir, and then he says he adds on things. Sumchas Aimer. He says Hain.
What do you mean? Hareni Nazir. What do you mean Sumchas Aimer?
He says Hareni Nazir, right?
Okay.
And then he added on more. But Sumchas is a
person.
Yeah. He says Hain. If he says Hain, then it's 1. Achas, then it's 1. Right? Digun is 2. Yeah. Trigun is 3 nazirus. Tetragon, right? Tetragon is arba, and pentagon. There you go. Pentagon is 5, right? Penta is 5. Tetra is 4, I think, right? I don't know. These are called the Greeks, right? These are the Greek terminologies.
Yes.
Right. So digun is 2, trigun is 3, tetragon is 4, and pentagon is 5. Yeah.
Egon is 6, and Egon is 6 in Hungarian. No.
Okay, so l'chayra means in any language, right? L'chayra. Fine. So then meaning even if you use Greek terminology, that you could add on to your.
Maybe it's just Greek because the Greek was makobo by the Eden.
You're saying okay, Enochanami. I don't know. You think it's dafka Greek?
I mean, we've seen B'chlalim that the Greek was makobel by the Eden, not all the language.
Did a good job.
Right. Yeah, it's almost it's.
If I said it in Spanish, I mean, it doesn't mean anything.
Well, Spanish people never tried to blow up the base of Mikdash like the Greeks.
The notes in the bottom of the art scrolls say it can be done in any language.
Yeah.
Does he quote anybody?
He quotes Tosfos Baba Basra 164b.
Meiri and see Tosfos.
Since these are Greek words, it is evident from the Brisa that a declaration of nizirus need not be made in Hebrew.
Yeah, so the question is, well, remember the Daf Bezam and Aleph? There were a few lashonos for Nazir. What were they? What were they called? Come on.
I'm going to look.
Naziach,
Nafiach, all that. What language is that? What language is that?
it's slang, not a real language. It's straight up slang.
Slang. I hear. If that's the case, so then any language you can make, then there would be. Truth is, what's the chiddush here then? If you can make up slang, then Greek for sure. Okay, fine. Tanur Rabbanan. Then the last case, Tanur Rabbanan. This is just agav. This is about saras. So we're talking about this. A house could have saras on it, right? So bias ogul. I think if you have a house that's round, digun, trigun, pantigun, or it has a two-cornered house. I guess I don't know what exactly. That's like a tent maybe. Three-cornered house or a five-cornered house. They don't become. You cannot become tzaras. But tetragon, but the four metame b'negoyim. Why? So a two-walled house, a three-walled house, a five-walled house cannot become tameh from tzaras. A four-walled house, yes, my timer. Lamatu Aimer in the pasuk it says b'shav akayin b'yayim ashvi v'rav hine fasa nega b'kirois habayis, right? Kirois. So kirois is plural. So there's two walls. Lamalahu Aimer, and then it also says in the pasuk v'roas hanega v'hine hanega b'kirois habayis shekarurois yirakrois adamdamais. They're red or green or maran shafal min akir, and it looks lower than the wall. Whatever it is, it also uses a two-wall terminology. Again, it uses kiros twice, which is plural. So that's four walls. So harekan arba, so therefore tells you that a four-walled house becomes tameh. A three-walled house, four-walled comes tameh. 2, 3, and 5-wall houses do not become tameh.
How come we're not building?
Okay, Hadron Allah Kol Kinuye.
I'm going to pull a Gershon thing before you make the Hadron. I just want to. No, I'm kidding. Mazel tov.
Yes, very good parents. Yes, Hadron Allah Kol Kinuye. And now, for those that want to stick around, L'chaim Jesse, L'chaim Peretz.
Why doesn't everybody just build four-cornered houses? Why does everybody build four-cornered houses and you never have a problem of a lashon hora being matama your house?
You can talk lashon hora. Yeah.
Whatever tumors in the house. So.
And the Hanami, that's the Pentagon for you, right? They're busy spying on everybody. It's a one big mali lashon hora, right? I have just thought about that right now. That's very cool. Anyway, okay. So I'll just read over the Chazara just to be right. I just sent it out. So, okay, so the Mishnah says 4 different cases, right? If he says a nazir like hair on his head or dirt, so we said it's a machlokes actually whether he's a nazir for an unlimited amount of 30 days segments, and Rebbi says no, it's one long nizirus. But if he says a nizirus in a plural lashon, then Rebbi agrees that you'd have an unlimited amount. Then we said the case of a nazir saying his full house or a box. So then we ask him what he meant. If he says that it was a plain nizirus, then then we look at it as if it's full of mustard seeds, and then he's a nazir for the rest of his life for 30 days at a time. If he says he's a nazir until he travels, so if it's less than 30 days, then he's a nazir for 30 days. If it's longer than 30 days, then he gets that amount of time, which we had said in yesterday's stuff. That's talking about where he already started traveling. The fourth case is if he's a nazir for the number of the amount of days of the solar calendar, then he's a nazir for 365 times 30. And Yehuda proved that a guy kept it and then he died. So that's that. Then the Gemara says, how come we don't look at the box that it's full of cucumbers or gourds? Why do we have to look at it like it's full of mustard seeds, which means it's unlimited. So we said that's actually a machlokes, whether a suffix nizirus is considered stronger than a vade nizirus. And Reb Shimon holds we have to go with the suffix nizirus, even though it means the guy's going to be a nazir for the rest of his life. And Rebbi Yehuda disagreed. So in our Mishnah is going like Reb Shimon, then we have to be strict. Rabbi Yochanan says our Mishnah could even be going like Rebbi Yehuda, right? Because there's a difference. In our Mishnah, the guy said he's a nazir, so we just have a shaila of how long he's a nazir for, right? But the case of the guy making a bet whether there's 100 kur in this pile, that guy didn't say he's going to be a nazir. We have a suffix whether he's even a nazir in the first place. So therefore, Rebbi Yehuda would agree that that in our case where Vade makes himself a nazir, we have to be strict, right? So then we said onto Rebbi Yehuda, well, maybe he would agree that it's one. Maybe we could say that after 30 days it becomes the same shiloh, meaning our old shiloh was he a nazir for one time or is he a nazir for unlimited? So we don't know. So if he taka only meant to be one time, so then that's it. After 30 days, it's the same shiloh. Did he mean to be a nazir or not? I don't know if I explained that so well when we learned it. Okay, so then we said, no, it's not a problem on Talmud Beis. That Yehuda says, like Rebbi, that it's one long nizirus. So then we said two kashas, two proofs that Yehuda can't be saying like Rebbi. So he said, Rebbi, then we said that maybe where he uses the word minion. So then we say that then we said that Rebbi Yehuda cannot hold of Rebbi does not hold of minion, right? So we answered that Rebbi Yehuda holds like Rebbi by one case and not by another case. He holds like Rebbi that when a guy gives a nizirus about an unlimited amount of things, so then Rebbi Yehuda agrees with Rebbi that it's one long nizirus. But if he uses the word minion, there Rebbi Yehuda disagrees with Rebbi. Rebbi says minion doesn't change anything. Rebbi Yehuda holds minion does change, right? And then we said that the difference between saying he's a nazir forever and a nazir forever, even 1,000 years, is that when he says 1,000 years, it's one long nazirus. But if he doesn't say 1,000 years, he says forever, then it's in 30-day segments. Then we said you can use if he says ve'oid and he says ve'achas and then he says shuv, so then he's a nazir for four terms of nazirus, right? And the chiddush is that shuv doesn't make him go back and do repeat, then it's 6 terms. So it really only says 4 terms. And then we said using the terminology, the Greek terminology will also make multiple nazirus. And then we said that only 4-walled houses become get saras. Okay, Hadra Cookie Nuye. Everybody should have themselves a fine night. Tomorrow's daf's a little easier than tonight's daf.
Can I ask you a
L'chaim again? Another L'chaim Peretz.
You just made it a hadron.
Yeah.
Can I ask you one thing?
Yeah.
You mentioned to my wife, salmon, that without a hechsher, if you cut it and it has skin, so it's not an issue, right?
I don't know. I guess I told her. I have no recollection. Yeah.
Today.
I get this question every day. Every day, Costco salmon.
No, not Costco. Trader Joe's.
What?
Trader Joe's says salmon with skin. If you cut it, if it's right, you don't have to worry about the knife.
Are you shechting it? Are you shechting it?
They cut it.
What knife? Trader Joe's salmon is prepackaged, isn't it?
Right.
It is prepackaged, but it's cut with a knife somewhere, right?
Yeah, but in a factory, you don't have to worry about the knives. If they're keeping it for salmon.
So you don't have to worry.
That's the assumption. The assumption is you're keeping it for they're.
And even if they weren't, do you think they're using it hot for other foods?
No, but the shaila is if there's tray for fish on the knife.
Yeah, let's say
even if there is, it's cold.
Nah, the salmon processing is processing salmon and nothing else.
Is it like chol of stam? Like you could, like it's a yard vayava, like Moshe says it's a given, or we just should cut the edges.
You don't have to.
Your shver is very makbid not to keep chol Israel.
What?
I'm not talking about my shver. I'm not talking about this. I'm asking Tzvi Yaakov a shaila on salmon.
Yeah, if it's
From Zev, it's too bad
theoretically,
your Shver is not on because he would tell you what he used to do on Cornego or wherever else it is.
I'm very happy. It's very good. I'm happy, Baruch Hashem. I'm not asking. I'm just asking Sfiakul.
if theoretically you went to a treifa small fish store and they cut the salmon with a treifa knife, then the din would be that you scrub the fish and then it's fine. Some say take the sharp part of the knife and just run it over that area where it's cut. That's the maximum that you would have to do. Maximum. But when it's coming from a salmon factory,
you don't have to chash.
No, because even the other way is a chumrah.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry.
They're not using a knife to check the salmon.
Goodbye, Rachel. I'm going to sleep. It's 10 o'clock already. It's empty bedtime.
Good night.
Yeah. It happens to be that the fruma salmon in Costco lately, Peretz, is cheaper.
And the salmon in Costco is terrible.
What's from a salmon?
There's a Chaf K. Hold on 1 second. I just have to. Hello. Yeah, I'm still in the.
Parrots little.
Finishing up the share. What I need to do your. Today's the last day to do your ticket. I need your. What's your license number?